What if their rejection was redirecting you to who or what was for you? Now, if there's one thing I've struggled with in my life, it's been rejection. And I've struggled with it my entire life. I've struggled with it when I was in 8th grade, struggled with it when I was a child. And I can go into my whole childhood trauma and my whole family household and stuff like that. But, to put it plain and simple, I at one point was suicidal. At one point, felt like I had to constantly stand out. At one point, felt like I had to earn people's approvals and I was constantly people pleasing and stuff. And all of this revolved around not knowing how to handle rejection. Once I got rejected, I felt like I had to, again, stand out. I felt like I had to prove myself. I felt like I needed to, find a way for people to bring their attention towards me, because I felt like I was constantly overlooked in life. I feel like people never really care. I always felt like a side character in other people's stories. And I felt like nobody really ever prioritized me. And sometimes those thoughts even come up now in my life, but it's all because I never really knew how to deal with rejection. It always made me question my worth, and it always made me, question who I was as a person, whether I had to change who I was and stuff. And I can genuinely say now, I don't think I've ever been rejected from a place that wasn't for me. Because when I say rejection might be redirecting you, is that sometimes we don't realize the importance of, well, personally for me, I believe in God. So in seeing rejection to certain spaces, I've always seen it as God is protecting me from something that I don't know. He's protecting me from people who aren't good for me. He's protecting me from a relationship that isn't for me. He's protecting me from a space that I'm not, from a road or a path I'm not supposed to be going down. And obviously there's times where he might allow me to go down a path and to learn the hard way and stuff like that. But I genuinely feel like when people have rejected me, when relationships haven't worked out, there's a reason behind them not working out. Like, obviously as people, we have this idea or we have this vision for what we believe is best for us. And typically when we like somebody, when we're trying to get into a relationship, when we're in a relationship and things fall apart, we automatically assume like, oh, I got to fix this, or I got to do this, I got to do that, because this is where my happiness is. This is where my peace is. This is where home is. This is the best thing that's for me. It's like we end up getting rejected from those spaces or things falling apart. And it's like we try so hard to get it to be what we want it to be, not realizing that, sometimes our vision, sometimes our plan, sometimes our idea of what our life should look like isn't what's best for us or isn't the place in which we belong. And I've changed my perspective and how I view relationships and things falling apart and, failure and stuff like that, and seeing it as learning lessons and stepping stones and, just experiences that are necessary for me to, learn certain things about myself and learn how I can change who I am to be a better person moving forward in my future. But I think rejection is just so important in life to realize, like, there's sometimes other places in which you're needed. Sometimes what we again think is what's best for us isn't really what's best for us. And I think when you allow ourselves to get so caught up on the rejection itself, and we invest so much of our time in trying to turn something that isn't for us into something that is for us, it's like we miss out on the life that is waiting for us to live it. And I feel like for myself, rejection has led me in ways in which I didn't even know it would lead me. Like, my rejection from 3 years ago led me to eventually making videos. My rejection, it's probably been a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, led me to just a lot more wisdom. It led me to being a lot more self-aware. It led me to doing a lot of reflection, a lot of healing within myself, understanding my past traumas, understanding why I viewed things a certain way and how I treated people. Like, it's worked out. My rejection to certain spaces, and this can be things other than people, has just taught me so much. It's allowed me to grow myself. It's allowed me to mature myself and just the person that I am. And I realized that, like, those rejections were necessary sometimes, because had I not faced that rejection, had I not dealt with those situations, had I not gone through those different experiences, then I wouldn't be able to be the person that I am today. Now, those stories don't define my past. That's not the only reason I am where I am. Like, obviously God plays a role, obviously myself plays a role, but they kind of guided me into being the person that I need to be. And so personally for myself, like, Rejection in itself has led me closer to God. Now, whether you're a believer or not, that's not the intent of my video, the intent of this video. But for myself, it's led me closer to God, and it's led me to seeing the meaninglessness in the things I used to try so hard to hold on to. It could have been money, it could have been a girl, it could have been friends and stuff like that. And how I used to look to the outer world to bring me peace, how I used to look to the outer world to bring me happiness. And it was like, in getting rejected from certain spaces and trying to heal myself on my own, I'm a very self-dependent person. I'm a person where I've been rejected so much. I've been, again, a side character in people's lives for so long that I learned how to be on my own. I learned how to do things independently. And sometimes that's a negative aspect or a negative attribute of myself, because it keeps me from asking for help. It keeps me from wanting to interact with others. Sometimes I hop into isolation and just be like, oh, I'm gonna just focus on myself, do things on my own, and kind of disconnect from the world. And I feel like in doing that a lot and trying to heal myself alone, like, I noticed how, I couldn't do it on my own. And it made me grow closer to God and look to God for help. It made me look to God for wisdom. It made me look to God for guidance and stuff like that. And if you guys want a video, because I've been asked this before, if you guys want a video more on how God played a role in my life and helping me let go and just in my life in general, then please leave a comment and let me know. But I'm going to try and move forward with it. But for myself, it's led me closer to God, and it's led me to a more purpose-filled life in God and finding peace and happiness in God rather than in other people's acceptance or other people's validation or in the results and how much money I got or what materialistic thing I got. It's made me see the true purpose of life and how all these things we hype up and all these things that we call purpose are really purposeless in the end. But the only way in which I was able to find that better life for me, or find all those, where it was redirected me, it even redirected me to just content creation. It's just, again, my wisdom and my mindset. Like, in order to find or discover or learn all those different things, like, it took me being willing to move forward. It took me being willing to look at the situation and say, there is a reason this isn't working out. Again, many of us, we see rejection and we see it as an opportunity or a need to stay there and fix it. And we miss out on the lessons. We miss out on the new opportunities. We miss out on the friends or the people who might be waiting for us, but we're so caught up in trying to stay where we are. A long time for my past, or a long time for myself, like, I was so caught up in the place I had made my home, in a way, the place where I told all my feelings to, the place where I automatically came to and I made essentially my best friend or my safe space and stuff. And it was like, I developed so deep of a connection there that I just stayed there even when I got rejected from that place, constantly trying to fix it, constantly waiting around for hope, constantly hoping things would work themselves out. And it was like, I put my life on pause from being able to find new people, being willing to open up to new people, being willing to build better connections, because I was trying so hard to keep what was meant to be behind me still in my present life. And it was like, you can't drag your past life and what's no longer for you, what might have been for you once upon a time, into what's for you now, because sometimes they just don't align. Sometimes they don't match. And I honestly can't say if I was still in that space trying to fix it, trying to hold on to hope, trying to, putting effort into it, putting energy towards it, I don't think I would be where I am today. And again, where I am today might be a closer relationship with God. Maybe it's the people I have around me now. Maybe it's the wisdom I have. Maybe it's the spaces I'm in, whether it's my mentorship group, whether it's the amount of belief I have within myself, whether it's the amount of time and happiness I have in spending with myself. Like, I don't know what my life would look like had I continued to see that rejection as a need to try and fix, as a need to stay around, as a need to continuously keep putting energy into something that, again, just wasn't for me. And, I'm not going to sit here and act like rejection is an easy thing to just let go of, because it's not. Again, sometimes we have this idea or this expectation of, this is where I belong. I see the potential in this person. I know who they were in my past. I know all the promises they're making and stuff like that. And it's a hard thing to let go of. But it was like, finding that discipline to actually move forward. And I'm not going to sit here and act like one day, like I was just cool, I just moved forward and stuff. Like there was urges, there was times, and still even is times where I noticed my mind wanting to reach out to certain people or wanting to try and fix certain things and stuff like that. And it's like, sometimes you just got to watch your mind. Sometimes you got to notice the urges and be like, the life back there isn't the life that is for me. It's like my peace, my happiness isn't behind me. It isn't in what fell apart. It isn't in what, didn't work out and stuff. Because if it was back there and that space was truly for me, it would have worked out. It wouldn't have fallen apart. My best life, the life that is for me, the life that I'm meant to live, the life that God has planned for me, the purpose that God has planned for me is ahead of me. And it's in my willingness to move forward and see how, things play out in a certain way. Because again, in my past and getting rejected from certain spaces, it led me down paths in which I never saw myself going down. And I can honestly say right now, that story hasn't even fully played out, but I'm seeing how it's falling into place. I see the new connections I built. I see the people I've started surrounding myself with. I'm seeing how my heart has changed and my perspective, and certain things I used to cling on to, certain things I used to find purpose in, certain things I used to prioritize. I think they were a big deal and were so important in life. Like I just see how my whole way of viewing life is changing through finally letting go of certain people, finally accepting that I need to move on from certain spaces and environments and certain things, again, I used to cling on to. And again, it could be more than people. It could be a result. It could be an outcome or something like that. Like sometimes you get rejected in different ways in life. And it's like, okay, if I'm not meant to be here in this space, let me be willing to move forward in order to discover where I am meant to be. But it's like you have to be willing to do that. And a lot of you aren't willing to do that because you're so caught up in trying to fix and trying to, make people fit into your life who are no longer meant to be in your life or were never meant to be in your life. But I think the most important thing I want you to take away from this video is just don't allow rejections to make you give up on yourself. Don't allow rejection to make you form a negative opinion about yourself, because it's so easy to see rejection and question the worth that you hold, the value that you hold, whether you're good enough as a person, whether people care about you. It's like, it's so easy to get caught up in why we got rejected or what the rejection means. And it's like, sometimes it doesn't mean anything. Sometimes it's just God calling out to you to, grow closer to him. Sometimes it's, again, you getting rejected from a space that isn't for you and you just needing to pivot. We knock on doors and those doors don't open, or those doors are locked. Then it's like we stop knocking on doors, or we just want to keep knocking on the same door, hoping that eventually somebody unlocks it. And it's like, there's so many other doors down the hallway that are possibly unlocked that you can knock on, and people are willing to open them and let you in and give you a different experience from the one that you thought was best for you, or the one that you thought was the best that it gets and stuff like that. Like, you got to be willing to not allow your rejections to stop you from moving forward in life, to stop you from thinking that there's a better life out there for you and stuff like that. Because again, we face rejection and we get so caught up in that rejection that we stay in it. We stay in the pain of it. We become a victim to it, and we allow it to make us put our life on pause and stop us from moving forward and stepping into the life that truly is for us, with the people who are for us, with the purpose that's for us, with the opportunities that are waiting for us to take them. And so my biggest advice from this video is to keep moving forward. Rejection is inevitable in life, and you're going to face it from people, from jobs, from failures, results and stuff. You're going to constantly be facing rejection. But all I ask of you is that you never allow it to make you quit and give up on yourself and form a negative opinion about yourself and what you're capable of doing in this world. But I love you guys as always. Be sure to check out my one-on-one coaching down below in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, as well as leave a comment. I'm going to catch you guys in the next video. Peace.